What's up, y'all? You know who it is. Your boy Mix a Lot. Now, I said I was going to answer this question for Bradford Taylor because he got at me in my last video and I told him I'd get him back a quick answer. And so, yeah. What he asked was this. Hey, Mix, how about a video about how to handle yourself financially when that first hit drops and you suddenly have two dimes to rub together? So in other words, when you first get bread, what do you do? This is going to sound like I'm making an excuse, but it really comes down to where you sucked up your game from. I'll give you my surroundings, right? I mean, I took notes on this because I really wanted to answer this question because I've been hearing a lot of people making it look like, you know, Lord Vader, the record label. Yeah, the record labels can be brutal, but game is game no matter where you're at. That's how I feel about it. So I grew up around pimps, hoes, Cadillac dolls. And by 12 years old, I understood that transaction. I understood the pick up, the break off, the give it up, to come back home to daddy, that kind of thing. I understood the whole process. I understood, and I was 12 years old and I understood that. And as negative as that was capitalism in a way. I know I pissed some people off at that one, but this country is born on a lot of that. Think I'm lying? New York in the teens, 20s, 30s? I'll leave it alone. All right. Also, you know, my mom, who was a nurse, would donate some time at the Black Panther Clinic, which is right up the street from my place. So we would do these things, they would do these things called unlearn, right? They catch a little brother like me walking in at 13, 14, talking about what you learned today, and I tell them something, and they tell me what the inaccurate points were and all that stuff. So keep in mind, I'm young. Now I'm sucking all this in. All of us do this. You do it too. And what you have access to is what you apply to life later, sometimes, unless you learn better ways of doing it, or worse, depending. Also, you know, I was surrounded by, in that era, a lot of people older than me. Like my brother was 14 years older than me, is 14 years older than me, and my dad, obviously. My dad worked at Boeing's. Initially, he did sheet metal his whole life. My brother worked at Bethlehem Steel. Those are them old school blue collar jobs you don't find anymore because they all went, you know where. Yeah, so you got the blue collar worker, you got pimps, hoes, and then you got mama. Mama's number one. My mom was a nurse at the King County Jail. And what I noticed about my mom, what I learned from her is work ethic. That's kind of where I come from in a nutshell. Also, there was the what's called the Summer Youth Employment Program. They used to have that back in the day when I was a kid. This is important. Why? Because it was a job, right? You didn't get paid like a full wage like an adult. But back then, you would go out and grind and come back and you'd have your own bread. You can go buy your own tennis shoes. You felt grown in a way. So that's where I come from. Now, let's fast forward. I got into music, obviously. And then me and Nasty Ness met at one of the clubs I was DJing at and went down a couple days later, met with Ed Locke. And I met with Greg Jones, who I wish I could see to this day because that man meant everything to my career, but he kind of moved east somewhere. But anyway, we started Nasty Mix Records. I'm fast forwarding now because I don't want to be talking for the next 3 hours. We started an independent label and we put out this little single, Square Dance Rap or whatever, and that did about 50,000. But, you know, nobody was getting rich, but, you know, we knocked out some units. The label's doing better. They moved into another place and we got it going. So then, around 1986, I started working on an album. By this time, I built my own studio up. That's another thing, too, man. I would get broken down stuff. Really. I get broke down stuff and rewire it, fix it. You know, usually there's always a power supply issue in that era. On the backside, there would be a diode, capacitor, something simple that went out, and I always buy that stuff broken and fix it. So that's how I got my first studio going. I put together Posse on Broadway, right? And Posse on Broadway, we released it in 87. A lot of people say 88, but here's why. In 87, I mean, it was like press and flesh. That's all you did. I mean, we would get in a rented van, drive down to all the distributors. We had one in Sacramento. I can't remember the name of them. They had Big State, you know, and all these different distributors. You just shook hands. man, appreciate you, man. Can you guys take some of these records in? We got you. Take 100 in. We'll see if we can get them sold for you. That's what it was back in those days. You go to the distributors. Then from the distributors, who did you go? A lot of people say you go to the record store. No, you don't, because the record store ain't going to order it if ain't no demand for it, right? Go to the radio station, and you do free shows, whatever you had to do to grind and get that record played. The record gets played, the distributors, boom, distributors start selling records because the record stores wanted them. All right? Now, the album with Posse on Broadway on it, which was called Swass, went platinum, right? 1 million copies. But remember, this is an independent label. You got to run that label. So I wasn't getting rich, but I was coming up. I was still paying rent. My dumb ass went and bought a Mercedes while I'm paying rent. 2 dimes to rub together. That's your point. And then, I got a little smarter. Then we did the record seminar, which had beepers on it and My Hoopty and 2 or 3 hits, actually. And that went about 750,000 and we stopped counting. So now I'm sucking up game as this goes. I'm making mistakes, but I'm sucking up game. So by the time I got off the independent, we went through there was a nasty lawsuit in there that I hate talking about it because it was like family fighting and it bothered me a lot. But anyway, we went through a nasty lawsuit, but in that lawsuit, I learned a lot about the business. A lot about what the label had to go through as far as what they were spending that I didn't understand. And as far as the money that I missed out on, that I didn't realize I'd missed out on it, but other people did, that kind of stuff. I took that with me after that lawsuit. That lawsuit hit hard, broke me, right? But I got through that, got a new deal. Now I'm on a major with a new manager, and my manager brought some game with him. Some things that you don't see in deals even to this day in with major labels. So do majors make a lot of money? Hell yeah, they do make a lot of money. Do they screw you out of money? Everybody talks about, you only get 12%. Well, you signed that. I don't know if that's screwing you out of money. I mean, we get into this. None of us had game. We signed those kind of deals because we had no game. That's what everybody signed. The Temptations probably had the same deal. Who knows, right? So here's one thing that happens. There's this little thing they used to call, I'm not saying it happened to me, but there's a little thing they call independent promotion. Sometimes labels would tell you, yeah, we had to pay, and they'll have a name. Let me look at something around here. What is this? Sony. Yeah, we had to pay Sony UXF 603 to promote your record up and down the Eastern Seaboard. Okay. How much did that cost? Oh, that was $100,000. Can't see it. You don't know it, but that comes out of your royalty statement. They're not just paying that $100,000. No, you're paying that $100,000. So this little 12% you get, that $100,000 comes out of that. But you also can learn some game too when you come into these deals. Especially you cats out, the younger artists listening to me right now. Why would you do a major record deal if you're hitting? First of all, major labels ain't calling you if you ain't doing damage streaming. So let's take that part out. I understand, you only got 3 streams. Well, a major's not calling you, so I ain't talking to you. I ain't even talking to me for that point because I ain't streaming nothing, really. I ain't trying to. But other than what's already out there. If you got something going and you're starting to monetize what's out there, why would you take a major deal? You know the first thing the major's going to ask you? How many followers do you have? How are records marketed nowadays? Is it radio? I don't think so. But if they get your followers, if I got 100,000, Bradley got 200,000, somebody else got 500,000, and we all signed to the same label, they will cross-promote amongst your followers, I assume. Back to your point, Bradley. What would I say to somebody when they get that money? It ain't money yet. I have a song called Old Money. They say the new money ain't no money, but you hung up on the show money. Go ahead and blow money and make a jeweler rich so he can break a trick. That's exactly what I mean. That new money ain't money. It's when you turn it. When you put the sauce back in the gumbo, keep making bread on your bread. It is doable, and you do not need anybody else. Once you got 3-4 million cats looking at you, once you're doing something like Gucci Mane is doing, right? Independent, just riding. Even when he has a major working with him, don't get it twisted. He might have a major working with him, but he ain't slaving for nobody because it's his stuff. It's his material. And that's what you got to do now. You don't really need a label. If you can get over that hump, and you got a lot of followers and you got a lot of traction, you need an advance, go to somebody else. You know, if I kick a cat down 50 grand and he's bringing in, he's bringing in 150 within the next 6 months, he got my 50. And if I throw a little vig on it, a little 10K, he might throw me back 60. I probably wouldn't do that though. I don't do that to artists. I just give me my bread back and I'm good. Sometimes I don't get it back, but I don't care. So I would tell them that in this era, don't get me wrong, big labels will blow you up because they have a budget. But they're not calling you unless you've already blown up. You got me? So I would say use the game you got from that street, because when I say pimping, when I say that, I'm not talking about sending a girl out bringing bread back. Come on, man. That's not what I'm talking about. But I apply pimp game to life. I do, because it's the same thing. Have you ever met a billionaire that wasn't pimping? That's what they do. And I would tell an artist that got them 2 dimes to rub together, start pimping. And shows, don't get me wrong, nowadays an artist probably makes more money on shows. However, if you have a song that's a big hit, if you happen to get that lucky, you don't see Mix-a-Lot on tour too often, do you? That's why. If you got your publishing, leverage your publishing, learn how to license, take it serious, things can happen for you. Believe me when I tell you that. But at the same time, when brands call, you got to be professional. Something else you got to learn. Okay? You can talk all that other shit, about motherfucker every 30 seconds. But when you get on the phone with McDonald's, handle your business. Okay? McDonald's, you ain't got to prove to McDonald's you real. All you got to prove to McDonald's is, I got something that's worth that paper you got over there, right? And they say, we're offering you 10. Well, if you know your track is worth more than 10, you got to say, you don't get mad. You don't get offended, because that shows you broke. You just go, okay, well, maybe next time. Maybe we'll hit on something. And you get off the phone and you wait, because they have more money than time. Anybody out there know what I'm talking about? You ever did a commercial or ad? They don't have time really for bullshit, right? Going around hunting all these artists down. They want an artist that's professional, that delivers and delivers quickly. That's why I got a studio in the room. Because if they call me and go, hey, you know what? We wanted you to change this lyric to that. Call you right back. Pop, done. Right? Guess who they call the next time? That's something I use. So really, to answer your question, Bradley, game. That's all you could really tell somebody that got them 2 dimes to run together, is get yourself some game. Quick as possible, right? And when I say game, street game, yeah, you can have that all you want to. I mean, I got that, but never paid me well. But this pimp game it applies to life, and that's what you need to do. You be the pimp, your product is the hoe. And you need to know when to leverage that hoe to make that bankroll go. I got a question I'm gonna ask you, Bradley, because the percentage of people that make money in this business, the percentage that goes broke is pretty high. So people go, man, them entertainers are stupid. So I looked up something. I'm looking at it right now. What is the percentage of lottery winners that go broke? 70%. Let me tell you something. Take the average person that has nothing and give them a whole lot. I don't care what color they are, where they come from, they'll probably go broke. How many times you ever seen a spoiled rich kid go completely broke when daddy passes away? Happens a lot. So if you ain't got no experience making money, it's hard to keep it. It's hard to hold it because you think it's easy because daddy did it for you. You be daddy. All right. Catch you later, Bradley. Appreciate the question. Mix-a-Lot. Gone.